There is nothing that we can do to ever really help us prepare for what it's like to lose a limb, or in my instance, more specifically, to what it was like to lose my leg. However, there is much that we can do to help us to ease the process after the fact, and we do that by understanding what it is that we are experiencing. And that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the various stages that we go through after we have been told we're going to lose the limb, or after we have in fact lost the limb.
Your obstructions are a lot of them have to do with your physical state. But you chose not to let your obstructions become excuses. And that is true. And you still achieved your dreams despite all of these obstructions, and you're still a man with no excuses. So I guess I would ask, what advice would you have for, well, certainly for me, because I'll take it, but maybe for my audience about overcoming obstructions in pursuit of your own dreams?
Really, when you get to a hospital,
yeah,
okay, you really have to bring it down to two things. You're either going to live or you're either going to die. And I decided very early on that, can I swear?
Sure, Quentin.
You'll bleep it out. I decided that if I'm going to live, fuck it, let's live. And if I'm going to die, fuck it, bring it on, die.
When I was small, I often wondered what it must be like to lose a limb, to lose a leg. So I remember lying in my bedroom, imagining what it must be like to not have a leg, to have lost a limb. I wondered about strange things. In my mind, I wondered, what happens to the amputated part, to the amputated leg? Where does it go? What happens to it? What do people do with it? While amputation was a scary thought, I was fascinated by what would happen to the amputated bit. In fact, I was kind of saddened by the idea that the amputated part would be discarded and would be lying somewhere being all alone. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the kind of stuff that went through my head as a little boy. That this leg would be tossed away, only to be forgotten forever. So fast forward 30 years, from the age of 8 to the age 38, and my imagination became a reality. And as I started out this vlog episode, nothing could have prepared me for that. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about one aspect of that reality, which is how do we deal with the loss. And I really hope you will stay with me for a few minutes to form an understanding of how it is that we deal with loss. Not only a loss of a limb, for instance, but many kinds of losses. Loss of a friend, loss of love, loss of opportunity, the kind of losses that we will experience through life. And I hope that it assists you in whatever loss you have experienced or might experience in the future in some small way. So I was 34 on a beautiful Wednesday morning, and I was leaving Cape Town after a meeting. I noticed that conditions were absolutely perfect for paragliding. It was a beautiful day, the wind was going in the right direction, the mountains looked magnificent.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And I decided, or I made a snap call. It was kind of that moment that we see in movies. There was a film called Sliding Doors, where things went the wrong direction. I could have made a different decision to go back to work and avoided what subsequently followed, or I did what I did. And what I did ultimately changed my life in a profound way. I made that snap decision to go flying at around 10 a.m. By 6 that evening, I was being told that I would most likely lose my limb as I was being wheeled into surgery. And the rest, as they say, is history. But from this history, I have learned a lot, and I've learned a few things that I kind of wish I'd known before this had happened, that I'd had an awareness of how it is that we deal with losses. So today in this vlog episode, I'm going to share with you the stages of loss and grief. No one amputee is exempt from this process, but understanding this process can relieve a ton of anxiety, of sadness, of unpredictability in our life. And most importantly, help us to turn the unknown into a more known situation to prepare us for what is about to happen over the next few years. In other words, to replace fear with knowledge and to give us the tools to cope or even to thrive. So there was somebody called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She identified 5 aspects or 5 stages of loss and grief. And what I've done is I've modified these stages a little according to my experience, and these experiences being both personal and the shared experiences of others. So the first stage is the one of the event, what happens, and the shock that follows it. It's a bit of a no, what has just happened. It was that moment for me where the doctor said, look, we might have to amputate your leg. I mean, at that point, I was so full of morphine from the pain that I didn't quite compute what he was telling me, but I had a vague recollection of telling him, you got to do what you got to do. So the first stage is the shock of the news that you will lose your leg. The second stage is something that we do that distracts us from the truth of what has happened, and it's called bargaining. In my instance, what it looked like was the thinking, what if I had gone back to work? What if I had never flown? What if I had landed earlier? What if I had noticed that the wind direction had changed and I was putting myself at risk and at danger? Of course, all these questions are futile and merely postpones the inevitable, which is to face the truth of what is going on. The third is to pretend that I'm not being affected by it. That is to say that in my case, I try to get through life as I would normally have done in the past. And the thing about that is that people kept on telling me that you're so strong, that you're dealing with it so well. And that, of course, reinforced my denial, pretending that it's not happened. But all that it did ultimately was to postpone the inevitable, the sadness and the difficulties that followed. The fourth stage was the anger that followed. That anger was directed 3 ways. The most of it, the bulk of it, was to myself for having made a choice that was so destructive. The second was misdirected sometimes at the world, at frustrations in dealing with the world. And the third is, at times, this was the least of the misdirected anger, but at times towards others, for also feeling misunderstood and feeling the frustration at people not understanding how your life had changed and how people would, of course, because it's their life, carry on with life at a certain pace. I mean, physically, while I was struggling in terms of how fast I could move, how fast I could do things, what I could do, what I couldn't do, and the inability to be able to do things the way that I used to do it. That took a long time to get used to, and at times I still struggle with that. The first stage is to summon up the courage to face your demons. And truly the only way to get through trauma is to be able to reach out and to ask for help. To ask for help is not a weakness. In fact, it's the first step towards wellness, and it takes a lot of courage. I really and truly admire people that approach me or come and see me with the ability or have made the decision to say, please help me, I cannot cope with the situation. It is not a weakness. It truly takes courage to be able to do that. And then finally, the sixth stage is to be able to face life on life's terms. That is to say, to accept that reality is what it is, it's not going to change, and that I needed to learn to cope with realities, that I couldn't expect reality to shift to understand my situation, but that I needed to face reality for what it is. That was the day my life began. The day I took responsibility for my own process and for what had happened in the past, my own choices and decisions that got me into that situation. That is truly the day my life began. No one to blame, no one to take responsibility for my problems except me.
I live, I die, I live again!
So I hope that whatever your loss is, whether it's a limb, whether it's love, whether it's time, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's family, so whatever it is, that these truths can help you to redefine your responsibility in your process. And what that truly translates into is not asking what if, but rather moving towards the question, what happens now? Okay guys, that's my story for today. Thank you once again for supporting me, for joining this vlog. Please, if you have comments, put them below in the section below, in the comment section below. For those of you that haven't, please subscribe to my channel. If you've enjoyed the content, please hit that like button. And most importantly, give me your feedback. What is it that you would like me to talk about? Or what is it that you have struggled with in the past that you would like to open a discussion on? So all the best, take care, see ya.